Hello students. So we are discussing about the spectroscopic techniques in the chemistry. So today we will discuss about the NMR, the spectroscopic technique. That is our spectroscopy technique. Today's technique is NMR. Okay, so the module is 5 and lecture number is 35. This is the last lecture of this topic as well as the last lecture of the subject also. Okay. So the subject name is chemistry. The subject code is CH101 or 201. The credit is 3 and contact hour is 35. These are the some of the prerequisite knowledge that you should have, and the concept, and this is the course objective for our course. The concept developed in this course will aid in quantification of several concepts in chemistry that have been introduced at the 10 plus 2 level in school. The technology is being increasingly based on the electronic, atomic and molecular level modification. So this is the course objective of our course. Okay, these are the some of the course outcome that we have. That is, after finishing this course, students can describe the fundamental properties of atoms and molecules, and also the periodicity of the elements in the periodic table. They can apply the fundamental concepts of thermodynamics and different engineering applications. Also, they can apply the knowledge of water quality parameters, corrosion control, the polymers to different industries. They can determine the structure of the organic molecules using different spectroscopic techniques, and they are capable to evaluate the theoretical and practical aspects relating to the transfer of the production of chemical products from lab to the industrial scale in accordance with the environmental consideration. So these are the some of the course outcomes that we have for this course. Yeah. So this is the lecture plan for the course. That is, we have 3 lectures for this spectroscopic technique. Today the lecture number is 35. The NMR, the nuclear magnetic resonance. About this technique we will discuss. Okay. Now NMR spectroscopy. Yeah, over the past 50 years of the nuclear magnetic resonance, okay. So commonly referred to as NMR, has become the preeminent technique for determining the structure of organic compounds. Of all the spectroscopic method, it is the only one for which a complete analysis and interpretation of the entire spectrum is normally expected. Okay. Although the larger amounts of sample are needed than for the mass spectroscopy. NMR is non-destructive, and with modern instruments good data may be obtained from the sample weighing less than a milligram. So last day we have discussed about in our previous classes we have discussed about the UV and IR. For the UV radiation, what we need actually, UV absorption. If we give some energy to the molecule, what will happen? The electronic transition will take place. That means from ground level to the higher excited level they will transit, but that is not their stable state. They will again return back to the ground state, and that whatever energy will be emitted, if this is in the visible range, and that time we will it will show the color. Okay, and whatever energy it will emit, that is actually indicated by the spectrometer. Okay, so this is the UV. And for the higher radiation, whatever the bond vibration, due to the bond vibrations we have, we can get the higher the spectras of the higher spectra of the of different molecules. For NMR, this is the NMR. Now, to be successful in using the NMR as an analytical tool, it is necessary to understand the physical principles on which the methods are based. The nuclei of many element isotopes have a characteristic spin. Okay, some nuclei have integral spin, some have the fractional spin. Yeah, so fractional spin, some have like I equals to half, 3 by 2, but 5 by 2. Okay, so some electrostatic spin, some isotope, some elements having the integral spin like 1, 2, 3, and some have the fractional spin like half, 3 by 2, 5 by 2, and a few have no spin like I equals to 0, like C12, O16, S32. Okay, isotopes of particular interest and used to the organic chemists are hydrogen, carbon C13, F19, and the P31, all of which have the I equals to half. Since the analysis of this spin state is fairly straightforward, our discussion of NMR will be limited to this and other the I equals to half nuclei. Okay, so what are the features now? What are the features we have for the NMR phenomenon? A spinning charge generates a magnetic field, as shown by the animation. Okay, the resulting spin magnet has a magnetic moment mu proportional to the spin. Okay, the in the presence of an external magnetic field, if the external magnetic field, if we apply some external magnetic field, that is B0, two spin states exist. One is plus half and other one is the minus half. The magnetic moment of the lower energy, this is the magnetic moment of the lower energy plus half state, is aligned with the external field, but that of the higher energy minus half spin state is opposed to the external field. Note that the arrow representing the external field points the north. Yeah, so this is the generally this is the case. Okay, now the difference in energy between the two spin states, what will happen, the different between the two spin states is dependent on the external magnetic field strength and is always very small. Okay, the following diagram, this is the diagram. The following diagram illustrate that two spin states, if we have the two spin states at the same energy, when the external field is 0 but diverge as the field increases, it will be diverged as the field increases. At the field equal to Bx, a formula for the energy difference is given. That is, you should remember that I equals to half and mu is the magnetic moment of the nucleus in the field. Okay, so this is the diagram. About this diagram, generally we are talking about okay, so if we follow the diagram, that the two spin states have the same energy when the external field is 0. Okay, but diverge as the field increases. At a field equal to Bx, for the energy difference is given. The remember I is half and mu is the magnetic moment, and that is why This is the energy difference. This is delta E, that is equals to mu Bx by I. Why Bx the whatever field we are applying. Okay, Bx, mu is the mu. What is mu? Mu is the magnetic moment of that nucleus in the field, and I, what is I? I equals to half. Okay. So by this equation we can get the energy, the energy difference. Okay, so the energy difference we can calculate if we apply the field. Okay, now chemical shift. What do you mean by chemical shift? Now, unlike in IR or UV visible spectroscopy, what will happen? The absorption peaks are unlikely located by the frequency or wavelength. The location of different NMR resonance signals is dependent on both the external magnetic field strength and the reference frequency. Okay, so since no two magnets will have the exactly same field, right? So resonance frequencies will vary accordingly, and an alternative method for characterizing and specifying the location of NMR signal is needed. This problem is illustrated by the 11 different compounds. There are so many compounds which is shown here. Okay, so which is shown in the following diagram. Although the 11 resonance signals are distinct and well separated, okay, and unambiguous numerical locator cannot be directly assigned to it. So you can see here, this is the proton NMR resonance signals for some of the different compounds. So you can see this is the increasing magnetic field at fixed frequency. Increasing frequency at fixed magnetic field. This is the order. Okay. So if we go towards the right, the magnetic field increasing at fixed frequency. Mind it, at fixed frequency, the increasing magnetic field will take place, and if at a fixed magnetic field, if we consider that time the increasing, if we left to right, if we go towards the left to right, the increasing order, it will be the increasing order. And the lastly, by the extranuclear electrons, the increased shielding, this is the order of the increased shielding effect by the extranuclear electrons. Okay, so this is the order. If we go towards the right side, so that will be towards the right side, that will be the order of the increasing shielding effect of the extra nuclear electrons. Okay, yeah. So one method of solving this problem is to report the location of an NMR signal in a spectrum relative to a reference signal from a standard compound added to the sample. Yeah, such a reference standard should be chemically unreactive and easily removed from the sample after the measurement. We can very easily, it is very easy to remove, right? So also it should give a single sharp NMR signal that does not interfere with the resonance normally, which is normally observed for the organic compound. Okay, like tetramethylsilane. If we have tetramethylsilane, this is the structure, this is the chemical formula of tetramethylsilane, that is CH3 whole to the power 4 Si. Tetramethylsilane usually referred to as TMS. Tetramethylsilane also it is called by the TMS. Okay, so that meets all these characteristics and has become the reference compound for this spectroscopic technique. Okay, So, tetramethylsilane or TMS is our reference for this technique, has become the reference compound of choice for proton and carbon NMR. Proton NMR and as well as the carbon NMR also, we have the TMS, the tetramethylsilane. Okay, since the separation of NMR signal is in magnetic field dependent, one dimensional step must be taken in order to provide an unambiguous location unit. Okay, so to correct these frequency differences for their field dependence, we divide them by the spectrometer frequency. The frequency is like 1000 to 500 megahertz in this is as for example. Okay, the resulting number would be very small, and since we are dividing hertz by megahertz, so it is multiplied by the million. We have to what we have to convert this dividing this hertz by the megahertz. So what will happen, it is multiplied by the million. Okay, so small, that is why as shown by the formula in the box. So here you can see the formula, that is, note that V reference is the resonating frequency of the reference signal, and V sample. There are two things are there, that is V reference, that is the resonating frequency for the reference. Okay, signal, and V sample is actually whatever samples we are having for this for determining the characteristics of that through this technique, that is V sample is frequency of the same signal. This operation gives a locator number called chemical shift. Okay, having units of per million, parts per million. Okay, and that is also parts per million also, we can call it by the ppm, parts per million, that is ppm, and designated by the symbol delta. Okay, so this is here one of the spectra is given, and actually this type of, for any compound we are getting this type of graph, this type of spectra, spectral lines we are getting for any type of NMR, spectral lines we are getting for any type of any type of compounds, organic compounds. Okay. Okay, so what is proton NMR spectrum of para tertiary butyl toluene? This is the proton NMR spectrum of para tertiary butyl toluene. A typical example shown in the above figure. The difference in parts per million, that is ppm, from 0 point is referred to as the chemical shift. Okay, delta. A typical range for the delta is around 12 ppm for proton, and it is customary to have the 0 point at the right hand end of the spectrum, right, with the numbers increasing to the left as shown in the figure. So you can see this is the figure. You can see this whatever the chemical shift we are having, that is the delta, that you can see. Okay, now what are the applications? This is all about the NMR techniques. Now what are the applications that we have for this technique? Generally, for determining the functional groups in the organic compounds, we can use this NMR spectroscopy technique. Okay, so application. Now, today NMR has become a sophisticated and very powerful analytical technology that has found a variety of application in many disciplines of scientific research. Okay, now the various industries modern NMR spectroscopy have been emphasizing the application in biomolecular system, mind it, biomolecular system, and also the organic molecules. For the organic molecules also, it is very useful. Okay, plays an important role in structural biology. Now, together with X-ray crystallography, NMR spectroscopy is one of the two leading technology for the structure determination of the biomolecules. So, for the biomolecules, we use generally the X-ray crystallography technique and also the NMR technique. These are the two very important technique for determining the structure of the biomolecules. Whatever biomolecules we synthesize to confirm the structure, to confirm whether it is having the specific functional groups or not, which we are aiming to synthesize. For that we are using generally the X-ray crystallography and NMR spectroscopy. For X-ray crystallographic technique, what we have to do, we have to first make the crystals of our biomolecules, and after that crystal, we will study the crystal, what is the structure, what is the orientation of that functional groups. All these things we can know from the X-ray crystallography, and also from the NMR spectroscopy we can also find out the some of the groups, what are the structures we have for the biomolecules, that also we can determine. In addition, NMR provides unique and important molecular, motional and interaction profiles containing the pivotal informations on protein function. Okay, the information is also critical in drug development. Yeah, so drug molecules, for the synthesizing of the drug molecules, this NMR technique is also very useful to determining the structures, to ensuring the structures. For this we are using the NMR spectroscopy. Some of the application of NMR spectroscopy are, these are the some of the applications. Okay, like solution structure, the only method for the atomic resolution structure determination of biomolecules in aqueous solutions under near physiological conditions or membrane environments. Okay, next application is molecular dynamics, the most powerful technique for quantifying the motional properties of biomolecules. Okay, and also the protein folding. So also for this is also this NMR technique also can be used for the protein folding, the most powerful tool for determining the residual structures of unfolded proteins and the structures of folding intermediates. So also we can know the reaction mechanisms by finding out what are the intermediates, the unfolded proteins, the structure of the folding intermediates. All these things we can determine by the NMR technique. So these are the some of the applications of the NMR that we have. Okay, so this is the today's topic. This is all about the today's topic. One thing you have to do, first of all you have to go through the study materials, all the study materials whatever I have provided you, and also follow the lectures. Okay, follow the classes regularly. So I have also given you one assignment. So after finishing this class, you have to do the assignment and submit it in time, and also some of the questions also you will get. Okay, from this is, as this is the last lecture for this chapter, so some of the questions I have given to you, which is commonly and very frequently asked to you in your exam. Like you are given some of the molecules. Now you have to find out which one is the, you have to identify which one is the chromophore. Can you remember chromophore? Where in which lecture we have about chromophore is related to which technique? Yes, of course. This is related to the UV UV spectroscopic UV visible spectroscope spectroscopy. Okay, next if we say if the fingerprint region, what do you mean by fingerprint region? Can you say where we have discussed this fingerprint region? Yes, of course, this is the IR IR spectroscopic technique. We have got the fingerprint region. Actually this is the region where the all functional group will spectra, we are getting the spectra in this region, we are getting the spectra for all the functional groups. Okay, now also you can have this type of question: define bathochromic shift, define hypsochromic shift, hypochromic, what do you mean by hypochromic effect? Okay, so these are the some of the questions that that is you are very frequently asked in your exam. Also, like, what are the applications of NMR technique, what are the application of IR technique, what are the application of UV visible technique. So for all this the question the answer will be followed. If you follow the class, you can get the answer. So the detail in your syllabus, the about the detailed discussion about the NMR you don't have. Okay, so just this much for the NMR, for the UV, for the IR, just this much content whatever I have discussed, this much you have. In detail you don't have. So that's why from this portion whatever discussed in the class, only that topic is from that topic you can have some of the questions. Okay, so please you have to follow the classes regularly. Okay, and if you have any doubt, then in our next class we can clear your doubts, or clear the doubts, or you can just give me the questions and I can answer the questions. Okay, so please students follow the classes regularly, and thank you so much, and do the assignment. Okay, if you don't follow the classes, then you cannot give the assignment in time and cannot answer the assignment properly. So that's why I'm again repeating again and again that you should follow the classes regularly, and do the each and every, after each and every classes I have given one assignment, so all the assignments you have to submit in time. Okay, so thank you students, and see you in the next class.